of the vehicle and found a couple hundred yards away from the vehicle. I woke up and the sun just being so bright in my face and hearing someone say, it's okay, you're going to be okay, they're looking for you.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God, because God is speaking to you and me and the church and the world, and here we get to listen in on the conversations, these encounters of angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences. Welcome, I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Episode, In the Blink of an Eye. Boy, everything can change in the blink of an eye. It just happened as I record this. One of those blink of the eye moments where passenger jet coming into Ronald Reagan Airport in D.C., Black Hawk helicopter, they intersect, collision, 67 are dead in the blink of an eye. Ripple effect to all those families, everybody in reaction. It's just everything changes. Your whole world changes when you're in that blink of an eye. Those 67 souls are now somewhere else, experiencing something else. Their families are left behind, dealing with all of this. What do we do? Do they run to God? Do they run away? Susie, in this episode, remarkable Susie, resilient, persevering. She's dealing with a blink of an eye moment. She doesn't know it, but she's 200 yards away from the car. She's seeing this, the sun is baking down on her face, but it's at a time when the sun's not up. And at a time when she shouldn't be able to hear anything, she's hearing this voice from someone saying to her, it's okay, you're okay. They're looking for you. Who is that?
The biggest factor in my mind at that point in time was, where's my baby and how is she?
Very suddenly, lives change.
Very suddenly, yes.
Susie's story is coming up, which reminds me, need your story. What is it? Angel encounter, divine intervention, prophetic dream, vision, near-death experience. Needed here. You're the fuel to make this work. So appreciate you listening. But if there's something there, quick Patreon shout out. Another lovely couple, Henry and Aaron Evans. Thank you so much for supporting what we do, guys. Aaron was on the podcast and let us know why they support what we do here through Patreon.
You know, I really enjoy listening to your podcast because, I didn't really talk about any of this kind of stuff. I did a little bit to people as I was experiencing it, but then with your podcast, you see there's actually a lot of people who experience a lot of things like this. And it's just so good to hear these stories. And it's like a validation. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks again, Aaron and Henry Evans, our Patreon shout outs for this week. And if you'd like to join the family here along with Henry and Aaron, come to touchedbyheaven.net, click your way through, or go to patreon.com and search for Trapper Jack. This incredible moment that changed lives in the blink of an eye. Susie, Eric, met them both. Met them recently on the Good News Cruise I've mentioned before, and it was great to run into them again and have talk further about all of this. And starting in the beginning, kids happen and things happen and lives change suddenly.
Very suddenly, yes. Eric had left his engineering job. He was beginning to be a full-time youth minister. My husband and I, 5-month-old baby, our first daughter, and one of the young men in our youth group took off driving one evening after we had been in a wedding all day for some friends. Drove from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we were heading to St. Paul, Minnesota. At about 5 o'clock in the morning, we had made it to Mauston, Wisconsin, and Eric possibly fell asleep while driving. Doesn't totally remember, but he lost control of the van. And we went off the highway with the cruise control set at 70 miles per hour, rolled the van 5 times, landed in a median that had been flooded with rain. Somehow, I guess we landed right side up. I was thrown out of the vehicle and found a couple hundred yards away from the vehicle. I woke up And I remember like clutching onto some tall grass and the sun just being so bright in my face and hearing someone say, it's okay. You're going to be okay. They're looking for you. Now, if you back up, you may remember I said at 5 a.m. The sun was just barely coming up over the horizon. So there is absolutely no way that the sun could have been that bright in my face at that time of day.
And your eyes were open?
And my eyes were open, bright sun. And I was like looking around. I was trying to sit up. Obviously, I was not able to sit up. I broke both collarbones, both shoulders, and I have a T5 complete spinal cord injury, which is chest level. So was definitely unable to sit up at that point in time. I'm also hearing impaired, severely hearing impaired, and lost both of my hearing aids in the car accident.
So you already had the hearing issue before the accident?
Yes, I got hearing aids when I was in kindergarten, so 5 years old. And I've had a pretty severe hearing impairment my entire life. If my hearing aids are out, I don't hear anything. I sleep through fire alarms. I sleep through my kids blaring their stereos as loud as they can in my house. I do not hear anything without them. And I heard this voice absolutely clear. I mean, not an issue with what this person was saying to me. And that person stayed with me, the entire time that I remember until I was found.
Well, and you say that because why? How do you know that?
Just because, I mean, I was panicking and I was trying to yell. And this person kept telling me, it's okay. You're going to be okay. And just like the peace that I felt like every time I could hear this voice, just like calming me down and keeping me present, but not panicked, if that makes sense.
Do you assume that is your guardian angel?
I truly 100% believe that was my guardian angel. I did ask Lewis, who was there, and no one was there with me when they found me. But it really did not connect to me at that point in time that, this person, this is not a person here with me. This is like my guardian angel. This is someone from, a spiritual realm. That did not connect with me until later when I realized, first of all, how early in the morning the accident occurred and that there, was no bright sunlight during that point of time of the day. And
was the sun even up yet? No,
it was 5:30 in the morning. Yeah. So, I mean, it would have been
But
barely.
Your thinking is, well, that has to be the sun, right?
Yes, absolutely. And in that moment, it's like, yeah, the sun's shining bright in my face. It's warm. Absolutely. It's the sunshine.
Right. Describe the voice. Male voice, female voice. What was it?
Definitely a male voice. Very soothing. Just like it had a very calming, soothing, male, gentle voice. Absolutely. They see you. It's going to be okay. Just that constant reassuring. And it had a very calming effect on me in that moment.
And what were those first words again?
You're going to be okay. They're looking for you.
Those who were still in the van were looking around and you were missing. Were you the only one missing?
Yes. My husband was buckled in and actually had to be removed from the vehicle. Our 5-month-old baby was in her car seat and completely unharmed. Neither Lewis or I were buckled. He was in the front passenger seat. I was in the middle row of the minivan and was laying down sleeping and not buckled.
In the back.
Correct. Lewis was also thrown out of the vehicle. He was conscious. He went through what would have been the front windshield, but it had already busted out. And he remembers like being thrown out of the vehicle and catching himself. And he suffered a separated shoulder, but was fine other than that. Lewis, the young man who was with us, a college-age student, actually found me along with an off-duty paramedic who was right behind our vehicle and saw the entire accident as it happened. So we had help on the scene immediately, like from the very second the accident happened. They tell me that I was yelling and that I was waving my arms and that was how they found me. But I was not able to move my arms for several weeks because of both of my broken collarbones.
Wow. But in that moment, you were able to.
Me or my guardian angel, I don't know what they saw, but I know that I did not move my arms.
And and that's got to be, how is that hitting you? I can't move. Was that the biggest horror of all of it?
It was not. The biggest factor in my mind at that point in time was, where's my baby and how is she? And once she was okay, I do remember seeing Eric and Mara at the hospital. So they did let me see Eric and Mara as they were taking me to the helicopter. And so I knew that they were okay at that point in time.
So at least that part makes you rest comfortably.
Yes. Then the rest of it like slowly started sinking in, but I think I thought I was going to get better. I didn't think this was permanent at that point in time.
What year was this?
1996.
So, 06, so you're almost, 28 years then?
28, yes.
28 years ago.
It's been a while. After that, I think I completely blacked out until I arrived at the hospital, because the next thing I remember was people like poking me, prodding me, cutting my clothes off. I remember even like the first time I woke up and the doctors were poking and prodding me, and taking the needles to my toes. I remember telling them I'm paralyzed. Like, what do you not understand about that? Because I had flashbacks. Are you familiar with Joni Eareckson Tada?
I am not. I don't think I am.
Okay. She is a quadriplegic, and she runs the Joni and Friends Ministry. She has an autobiography out called Joni. And I had read it when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old. But as things were happening to me in the hospital, where they're like cutting my clothes or where they're poking me with the pen, I kept having flashbacks of this book that I hadn't read in, 25, 26 years. And just like, it was like deja vu of like what I had read and what was happening to me. And I instantly knew I was paralyzed.
You have a soothing voice saying you're okay, but in a physical way, you're not okay.
No, absolutely not. And it's kind of like a surreal, almost like that dreamlike state when you wake up and not knowing what's real, what's not real. The fact that I can't move doesn't seem real. I'm just kind of like slipping in and out of that, what is real and what is not real.
Do you have a recollection of when you started piecing some of this together, or when you began saying to somebody, was there somebody standing there? Because, when you start hearing things like, we saw your hands waving, and you're going, I couldn't even, when do these puzzle pieces start coming together?
Those puzzle pieces started coming together about a week after the car accident. Like when I'm finally off of the pain meds in the hospital, and I'm more conscious of everything going around. Lewis, who was in the car accident with us, he continued on to Minnesota and did the conference for the weekend with our youth group.
Wow. How'd he get there?
A woman who saw the car accident stopped this passerby, brought Lewis and my daughter to the hospital as well to see us. And then she drove him the rest of the way to Minnesota. Just
well, that's a little crazy time too.
That is absolutely
all of your needs were being met.
They were.
In the moment, like within moments, everything was being met. You got paramedics or whatever all is showing up in there that are watching this accident. The woman sees it, and I mean everybody.
Everybody just, everything was there. God knew this was going to happen and had everybody there that we needed before we needed them.
And for some reason, God said yes to your paralysis.
Yes, and still does.
Tell me how you process that.
It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult because obviously this was not where I want to be. This was not the plan I had for my life. I still beg daily, God, heal me, take this away from me. And oddly enough, in the days that I feel the lowest and like I'm crying out with that prayer the most desperately, there will be a daily reading, there will be a reflection, there will be something that brings me back. And I should know where to find this in the Bible by now, but I don't. But it's where St. Paul is afflicted and cries out and says, take this thorn from my flesh. And God's response is basically no, because my power is made perfect in your weakness.
There is comfort in that.
There is comfort in knowing that this is God. This is where God wants me to be for whatever reason.
Yeah. What does he say? My grace is enough.
My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness.
And as often as we read about redemptive suffering, I sometimes, with my blindness, I will just say, hey, I'm always offering this up, even when I'm complaining, right? You know what I mean? Because sometimes, I just want to register again that, yes, I am offering this up. But that's always in the background of your mind, isn't it? That it's doing something for somebody or somebody's.
And I have no idea what it is. And I hope someday when I get to heaven, I will know. But this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And and just and offer it up and unite it. Just Christ's suffering for whatever it is that he needs to use it for.
And to see you and Eric, you just do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
You just do, and you don't stop. You've been we've seen you on a couple of these retreats on water, on a ship, and you guys just do what you got to do.
We do.
And when he has to pick you up and move you, he picks you up and move you. And plus, you have a lot of strength in those shoulders and arms of yours, don't you?
I would like to think I do.
Because you're moving around. You move however you have to move.
I do. I mean, we've kind of just, I've been determined to do everything we've ever wanted to do. We have 3 more children. I have 3 children after injury. I play tennis. I hand cycle.
Now, explain tennis.
Tennis, it's wheelchair tennis. And so I use a special wheelchair where the wheels are cambered, so they're angled out a little bit.
Is the court narrower, so you're not going way over there and then back over there? How's that work?
No, absolutely. It's the same court that anyone else. Yes, absolutely. It's the exact same court. No change in dimension. The only difference for a wheelchair player as opposed to an able-bodied player is I get 2 bounces to return the ball.
Oh, I like that. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So I get a little bit more time to get there, and that first bounce has to be inbounds. The second bounce can be anywhere. So
okay. You any good at it?
That's debatable. I have won matches. I've won my division at a few tournaments, but there are many, many people who are much better than I am.
That's awesome. Doesn't stop you, though. Doesn't stop you.
I do enjoy it. It's great exercise.
And you've had 3 more children.
Yes, we have 4 daughters. So very blessed there.
So does that mean you can have birth without pain?
No, it does not. Not intense pain, but I was blessed, if you can believe that I would say blessed, to be able to feel labor. I was actually able to feel a little bit during pregnancy with the baby moving. So should not be able to with my level of injury, but I was.
That's a blessing. So that is a blessing.
That was definitely a blessing, and was able to tell every time I went into labor.
You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. Talk about your faith in all of this, because this has got to rock you a little bit. Or did you just run to God and tell me what's the process here?
It did not rock my faith. And I think it actually, my faith became everything. And at that point in time, I was just like, motherhood changes you like immensely to begin with, and that was still so very new to me. And praying, looking at this beautiful little baby and just thinking, God, protect her from anything and everything. And if anything bad comes our way, let it happen to me and not her. And so I think, those first few months, I was just like, thank you, God, that it's me and not my baby, that I can deal with anything. Just please protect her.
God bless you. And it does change motherhood when you're chasing after kids in a wheelchair, doesn't it?
It does, for sure. You find ways to adapt and to meet the challenges that come your way.
Talk about was there a challenge? You mentioned Eric was behind the wheel. What does that do to the dynamics of the marriage? Can you mind talking about that? Because I'm sure that had to come up in conversation.
No, I don't mind at all. I mean, I know, I think it was harder for him initially than for me. I mean, I was not willing to take a ship driving. I was, I'm too tired. You have to drive. I was not buckled. I could have been buckled, and that could have changed the outcome of, everything completely. But that, was my decision. But I know he has had a lot of emotions to deal with. He has come to peace about that over the years, but it took probably a good 5 to 6 years for him to come to peace with it. I think he's taken it upon himself to make sure that I don't miss out on anything. I mean, he'd carry me up 3 flights of stairs to go do something if I really wanted to do it. He's just like determined to make sure that I can still live life to the fullest.
I'll tell you, as he adores you, he just absolutely adores you. And I know he would do anything for you. Eric, I think, represents so many people who are carrying those kinds of burdens, and they get up every day and they go through their day and they're carrying a lot. And there's just no way not to carry that. And the only piece I could ever see, it's like one of those moments where if you don't have God, I don't know how you find the peace, And you guys have God.
Absolutely.
There was a guy named Chuck who, towards the end of the cruise, he saw me standing, waiting for my wife. And he just came up, introduced himself. And I said, "Oh, I know who you are." Yeah, because we had met. And he says, "I want you to know you're an inspiration." And I said, "How's that?" And he said, "Just watching you and your wife." He says, "You're not letting anything stop you from, I see all over the place, whether you're going from, upstairs, downstairs, whatever it is, you're all over this ship." And I said, "Yeah, thanks to my wife, thank goodness, But he said, "But you're not letting anything stop you." I said, "Well, I try not to." You are that times 10 to me. What you and Eric do together is just remarkable. And again, the love, and he adores you, and I know you adore him, and the kids, and all of that. You are just such a beautiful example. And I asked you that question, and maybe it sounds unkind, but it's in the back of people's mind too, because as well as I do, that kind of happening can just split the heck out of a family.
Oh, yeah. Just the stress of it all. Absolutely. And then it probably could have been easy, for me to blame him and just shrink into myself and be full of hate. But I love him and I needed him and he's my support. And, God is our anchor between the two of us. And why would I want to turn away from him? And why would I want to turn away from God?
Amen. You are an inspiration. You guys are just an inspiration. Both of you. I just love how you're seekers. We've had great conversations just about what we receive out of these retreats, and you have this beautiful family. I can't tell you how much I admire you guys.
Well, thank you.
Quick pause here because Trapper. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hi.
When'd you come in here? Couldn't see you. When Trapper is headed out to do some speaking because Indiana wants me. Wait, how's that song go? Indiana wants me. I don't remember. You don't remember either, do you?
No,
you're horrible at lyrics.
No.
Yes.
Not if they're church songs.
Well, thank you very much. So we're going to be, you know what we found? We found a place called St. Anthony. We found St. Anthony. That's what's amazing about this. It wasn't St. Anthony finding us. We found St. Anthony. It's in Indiana. It's a community. It's a city. Cool little place. And they have reached out, so we're going to do a 3-night mission there. This kind of came about a different way, didn't it?
A listener.
Natalie Combs.
Natalie
listens to Touched by Heaven.
Natalie heard, was inspired, and went to her pastor, and he took a listen, and
that's amazing
inspired.
In itself. She went to Father Joe's and said, "Hey, there's this podcast. Want to listen?" Most would go,
never mind.
Podcast. Not he. He listened, and then he handed it off to another woman, and then she listened to it like she binged, and they said, "Okay, let's bring in Trapper." So that's going to be on March 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It's an evening thing. We're going to be at Divine Mercy Parish Gym.
You forgot to tell them what time to come.
I'm not telling them what time. They have to guess. But it's going to be, here's
7 p.m.
7 p.m., okay. I love the address. 4444, can't forget that. 4444, Ohio Street. We're from Ohio. Or is that Ohio State? See? They won the football championship, so it's Ohio Street, but it looks like state. And then that's in St. Anthony, Indiana. So that'll be March 16, 17, and 18. Looking forward to it. What's different, too, I'm already getting music bubbling up in my head that has to do with these talks. The overall talks, the umbrella is called Did You Hear What God Just Said? We've got to split up into 3 things. So I'm just putting this on the radar if you're in Indiana or whatever, or in the vicinity of St. Anthony. It'll be March 16, 17, and 18, 7 p.m. at Divine Mercy Parish Center Gym. Okay, but you know the address, 4444 Ohio Street, St. Anthony, Indiana. All right, so we'll see you there. Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth.
Okay.
I always ask guests, what's the takeaway? Your story. What is the takeaway from this?
Let God be the anchor in your life. You can, if you're not, solidly rooted in Him, then you're not going to feel like you're just going to feel like you're just floating around aimlessly. And if you've got a hold of God, then everything else is going to fall into place. And never give up.
Amen, sister. You really are. You're such an inspiration. It reminds me of something in Romans. Alexa, read Romans 8:28.
Romans 8:28 reads, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose."
We know that all things work together for good when we love God. You're inspiring people. I always, when people say something about the blindness in me, they probably do the same thing with you. My answer is always, nobody gets out of this world unscathed. Mine's a little more noticeable, but we all are dealing with whatever we're dealing with. And you know that too, don't you?
Absolutely.
Everybody is carrying around a cross.
And I remind myself of that daily, like when things get hard, of but I'm still doing absolutely everything I ever want to do. And I'm still had my kids, still have my husband, still all of my goals, I've been able to fulfill them. And it might not look the way I thought it was going to, but there are other people out there that are dealing with far more difficult situations than I am. People look at me and may think this is hard, but it isn't as hard as some of the crosses other people have to carry.
Give me a recent moment of joy. You and Eric, moment of joy. Or you and the kids, moment of joy. Recent, let's call it a recent victory.
Recent victory. Well, Eric's been struggling a lot the past year and a half. Just got a total hip replacement Friday. So this is Monday. So he's 3 days out and he is just walking around this place. Unbelievably, absolutely no pain for the first time in a year that he's walking with no pain. And it's just amazing. I am so happy for him and so thankful. and it's a complete answer to prayer. And that is my joy for the day, for sure.
The irony of it all, isn't it? The irony of it all. I have a similar irony, which is my wife recently went through cataract surgery, both eyes, and she can see perfectly now.
Wow.
And I am so happy for her. I couldn't be happier for her. We have a parallel, you and me.
It sounds like it.
We have a little
Wow.
parallel, and it's the joy we have when others are better. Yeah, that's a great victory. God bless you. God bless you, Susie, and God bless
You too, as well.
Eric, and just a joy meeting you, and I'm sure we're going to meet down the road again.
Oh, for sure. I hope so.
And I need your story. Let me know. Touchedbyheaven.net. Need your support? Patreon.com. Thank you for that. And I'll see you next week here at Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack, reminding you that Susie has a special blessing when it comes to listening to me.
If my hearing aids are out, I don't hear anything.